I think the king right now, his best bet would be to distance himself completely, make it clear to Harry that the Sussexes are not welcome at all in Britain for a very, very long time.
They ultimately pulled it off kind of secretly, carefully, and without any hassle.
Right.
And so they kind of proved they don't need the security. They proved they can do it. And the king clearly got his way and got to visit with his grandchildren finally, which I applaud.
Meghan, obviously, I don't think Charles or Camilla care for her much at all, but they do want to see the grandchildren. And unfortunately, given the age of the kids, the parents come with the grandchildren. I don't think you can totally avoid that.
The rumor mill never stood a chance once those iron gates swung shut at Highgrove on 17 July 2026. Because inside that Gloucestershire sanctuary time shrank to 47 minutes, just long enough for a father, a son, and a silent witness to decide whether the House of Windsor would ever widen its doors again. The car had circled like prey, Meghan Markle and the children waiting outside, while Prince Harry walked alone toward King Charles and Queen Camilla, already seated together, already united in resolve, already stripping every advantage he thought he carried. Tom Bower had forecast this freeze frame years earlier, and the moment it materialized, he moved from controversial commentator to reluctant prophet. His trilogy of royal autopsies exposed the pattern beneath the Sussex love story strategy disguised as sentiment, transactions masked by tears, and every prediction he penned was now breathing in that drawing room. The private estate, the missing photo, the absence of any conciliatory statement, each detail landed exactly where Bower said it would. And the stakes inside those paneled walls soared beyond family reconciliation into commercial survival. Harry's troubles, however, did not begin at Highgrove. They detonated 2 days earlier when Justice Nicklin delivered a 400-page judgment in the London High Court. 987 allegations of unlawful information gathering against associated newspapers collapsed under the judge's blunt refrain suspicion is not proof. And suddenly a prince who had wagered everything on moral vindication faced the possibility of multi-million-pound costs, personally. That legal crater still smoked when Harry stopped at Sir Elton John's villa on the Cité d'Azur to beg for funds. A shortfall of $25 million threatened the Birmingham 2027 Invictus Games, but the Knight of Pop, stung by being dragged into the same lawsuit, dismissed him with 4 words, "I am not an ATM." So the Sussex convoy rolled toward Britain heavy with unpaid bills, a courtroom defeat, and a void where philanthropic patronage was supposed to be. Buckingham Palace accommodation?
This is Harry being exposed as not telling the truth under oath in the King's court. This is serious stuff. And of course, in public, he has been trained always to smile.
Offered, accepted, then rescinded with surgical timing. Reports of a meticulous arrival requirements list allegedly emailed by Meghan? Ignored. Instead, Charles permitted a Chanel luncheon already on the estate to camouflage their entrance, relegating the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to unannounced guests threading through a sea of unrelated chauffeurs just to reach the front door. Inside, Camilla's presence was the first unmistakable power cue. She rarely sleeps at Highgrove, preferring Ray Mill in Wiltshire, yet there she was, sentinel and stenographer, ensuring no retelling could repaint the conversation. William's absence was the second cue, louder than any spoken rejection. The Prince of Wales had not talked to his brother since Queen Elizabeth II's funeral in September 2022, and sources insisted he opposed the encounter entirely. Without William's institutional blessing, no royal rehabilitation can pass beyond sentiment into structure, a reality Meghan grasped the instant palace staff escorted her to a children's playroom instead of the negotiating table. 47 minutes slid by, with knife-edge formality. No tea service, no laughter, no casual stroll through the topiary. Charles had one objective: neutralize Harry's narrative that a heartless monarch denied access. Granting the meeting disarmed that grievance, yet the king surrendered nothing usable, no joint photograph with Archie and Lilibet, no quote fit for Netflix soundbites, not even a handshake in public view. The Sussexes exited Highgrove clutching a single-line palace confirmation that the audience occurred, stripped of context, warmth, and marketable symbolism. In Windsor that same afternoon, Prince William and Princess Catherine laughed beside polo ponies, their effortless visibility underscoring the difference between inherited currency that regenerates daily and borrowed relevance that hemorrhages without constant spectacle. Cameras found the Waleses because duty placed them there. Cameras missed the Sussexes because secrecy was their lone strategy for leverage, and even that secrecy backfired once the gates reopened. Because leverage was the true commodity on trial all week. The long-trumpeted demand for publicly funded metropolitan police protection had evaporated the moment private sector security delivered Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet onto British soil without incident. The specter of imminent threat central to every legal petition looked theatrical now that they had traversed motorways unseen. With the security card discarded and the Highgrove card declined, only titles remained in play, and Westminster was already sharpening its knives. Labour backbencher Rachel Maskell reintroduced her removal of titles bill in October 2025. And although the Lords tabled it for that session, the message was unmistakable: constitutional patience is not eternal. Meanwhile, the Sussex income stream that once dazzled Hollywood accountants had narrowed to a trickle. Spotify's $25 million podcast venture terminated in 2023 for productivity shortfalls. Netflix's heralded $100 million pact quietly restructured into a risk-free first-look deal by March 2026. Meghan's lifestyle brand, billed as the next Goop, was revealing inventory piles of unsold jams, candles, and wine as website traffic fell 46% in 6 months. Even Balenciaga, after flirtatious front-row appearances, unveiled its February 2026 ambassador roster without her name. Desperation and failure, Bauer's two-word diagnosis, were no longer analytical, they were ledger entries. Yet Meghan devised a final gambit. One image of King Charles hugging his long-unseen grandchildren could have overridden the narrative collapse, restored royal sheen to the Sussex label, and reanimated cautious sponsors. The palace recognized the price of that snapshot and refused to pay it. Without the photograph, they left Highgrove with nothing but the clock ticking toward Invictus and Parliament. And so privacy became performance art. 4 weeks after issuing press-friendly pleas for the children's seclusion, Meghan orchestrated a transatlantic photo dump timed precisely against Prince George's 13th birthday celebrations and the Commonwealth Games opening targeting maximum algorithmic attention. Among the curated images, Harry and Archie trudging across Althorp's sacred grounds, bouquets in hand for Princess Diana's island grave, with Lilibet scampering behind. Even seasoned defenders shifted in discomfort, weaponizing a mother's resting place for social media engagement shattered boundaries once thought inviolable. The significance circles back to Highgrove. That 47-minute stalemate was not merely a failed peace summit. It marked the moment the Sussexes proved they could neither coerce nor charm the monarchy into gifting legitimacy on their terms. Every avenue for soft re-entry security accommodation, sympathetic grandfather portrait, commercially usable endorsement closed in one afternoon, leaving Harry and Meghan facing an unforgiving arithmetic, dwindling contracts, escalating costs, and a legislative tide that might soon strip the very titles anchoring their brand. The gates of Highgrove closed behind Harry and Meghan, but the real story had only begun. Most people believed those 47 minutes were the climax. Tom Bauer believed they were merely the confirmation. Everything that happened afterward fit into a pattern he had been describing for years. A pattern where every apparent opportunity slowly transformed into another closed door. The meeting had produced no photograph, no endorsement, no promise, no breakthrough. That silence became the loudest statement of all. The palace had agreed to listen, but it had refused to invest. From that moment forward, every commercial problem waiting outside those Gloucestershire gates became impossible to hide. Bauer had warned long before July 2026 that the Sussex strategy depended on one assumption: that their royal connection would always be valuable enough to outweigh every controversy surrounding them. He insisted the opposite was true. The further they drifted from the institution, the less commercial power they possessed on their own. For years, that prediction was dismissed while enormous contracts kept arriving. Netflix reportedly signed a deal worth around $100 million. Spotify reportedly committed roughly $25 million. Hollywood welcomed them as the future of celebrity influence. Critics laughed at Bauer's warnings because the money appeared endless. But fortunes in entertainment are measured by renewals, not announcements, and by the summer of 2026, every major partnership told the same story. The momentum had stopped. Netflix quietly transformed the original agreement into a first-look arrangement after March 6, 2026. That sounded impressive in headlines, but industry insiders knew exactly what it meant. A first-look agreement carries almost none of the guarantees of the original contract. It buys possibility instead of commitment. Spotify had already ended its partnership back in 2023 after concluding the expected level of content had never materialized. Even the Emmy nomination for With Love, Meghan arrived after Netflix had already stepped away from fully backing the project. What looked like recognition on paper no longer translated into commercial confidence. Bauer's prediction that celebrity alone could never replace royal relevance suddenly looked less like criticism and more like a financial report. The problems reached far beyond television. Meghan's lifestyle brand, As Ever, had been introduced as proof that life outside the monarchy offered unlimited entrepreneurial freedom. Individual launches created excitement as products appeared to sell out almost immediately. Yet behind the carefully managed announcements, another picture reportedly emerged. Website traffic reportedly dropped from approximately 268,000 visits in January 2026 to roughly 145,000 by June, a decline of about 46%. Reports also claimed that a technical website issue briefly revealed inventories including more than 220,000 jars of spread, 90,000 candles, 80,000 jars of flower sprinkles, and 70,000 bottles of wine still waiting to be sold. Whether every figure would ultimately matter less than the perception. The narrative of unstoppable demand had been replaced by questions about sustainability. At exactly the same time, Harry's own flagship achievement faced a crisis that few outside royal circles appreciated. The Invictus Games, the project most closely associated with his independent identity, reportedly faced a funding gap of around $25 million, with Birmingham 2027 less than a year away. According to the source material, Harry's earlier stop in the south of France to see Sir Elton John had been part of an attempt to close that gap. Instead of fresh funding came the reported response that echoed across royal commentary, "I am not an ATM." Whether viewed as frustration or finality, the message reinforced Bauer's larger argument that even longtime allies were becoming reluctant to carry financial burdens connected to the Sussex brand. That left only one issue looming over everything else: the titles. According to the source, legislation concerning title removal had already been reintroduced into Parliament in October 2025. Even if it had not advanced during that session. More importantly, reports consistently suggested that Prince William's position remained significantly harder than King Charles's. The Highgrove meeting demonstrated that Charles was willing to listen without conceding ground. Bauer believed William represented something entirely different. When William eventually becomes king, the conversation may no longer revolve around reconciliation, but around permanent constitutional decisions affecting Harry's future role, and even the continued use of royal titles. The source presents that possibility not as certainty, but as the threat quietly shaping every move being made today. That is why Tom Bauer argues those 47 minutes were never about healing a family. They were about measuring influence, testing leverage, and discovering which side still possessed real power. Harry entered Highgrove believing he still held valuable cards. King Charles revealed that the palace had already calculated every one of them. No photograph, no endorsement, no institutional return, no commercial rescue. Just 47 controlled minutes that ended exactly where they began. If Bauer has truly called every major turn correctly so far, then one question now hangs over the monarchy more heavily than ever. If Highgrove was the last opening, what happens when the next royal door never opens at all?